How does a bitterly impoverished, famine-ravaged country with little in the way of discernible industry afford a nuclear weapons program? How do its elites live in the lap of luxury despite ruthless international sanctions? The short answer is weaponized nerds. Here's the long answer. North Korea is a pariah state, the most isolated nation on Earth. Its leaders' stubborn insistence on self-reliance means ordinary people can't easily import useful goods from the outside world, like fuel or fertilizer. The country does export negligible quantities of coal and shellfish, but overall, it's fair to say the broad economic tax base underpinning all other modern nation-states simply doesn't exist here. So how does North Korea make money? Historically, it's turned to crime. In the 80s and 90s, this nefariousness typically extended only as far as small-time organized crime hustles. Think smuggling cigarettes, amphetamines, or the body parts of endangered species. One of the more lucrative old-school scams, however, was a wildly successful state-sponsored trade in counterfeit $100 bills. This counterfeit money wheeze, which ran for decades and netted the North Korean regime around $15 million a year, was mercilessly stamped out by the US government in the early years of the 21st century, which prompted the outlaw state to get creative. How? North Korea then turned to hacking. Remember the Sony Pictures hack back in 2014? Sony Pictures released a Seth Rogen movie called The Interview, which brutally mocked the North Korean regime and especially its dear leader, Kim Jong-un. Outraged, Pyongyang condemned Sony's comedy flick as a wanton act of terror and responded by hacking the Hollywood giant's computer systems. This major hack led to the embarrassing release of sensitive internal emails, including one calling Angelina Jolie a minimally talented spoilt brat and the script for a forthcoming Bond movie. That hack, however, was merely the shiny showbiz tip of a colossal cybercrime iceberg. The real work being carried out by North Korean hackers was, and is, targeting banks. According to a 2019 United Nations report, North Korean hackers have so far raised some $2 billion in just a decade of state-sponsored online malfeasance. That was 2 years ago, by the way, so the real figure is almost certainly more than $2 billion. Exploiting weaknesses in the banking systems of nations like the Philippines and Bangladesh, but also more advanced economies like Japan, isn't straightforward. But North Korea has a long-term strategy. The regime seeks out and recruits the brightest young children from its otherwise threadbare schooling system. These math-inclined whiz kids are funneled into specialized high schools, hot-housed as if they were young Olympians, and later enrolled at well-funded Pyongyang institutions like the Kim Chaek University of Technology or Kim Il-sung University. Throughout, they're encouraged to code and hone their online skills. Remember, fewer than 1% of ordinary North Koreans have internet access, so if you're computer inclined, hacking is a great way out of the slums. Upon graduation, these elite Korean coders, described as warriors by Kim Jong-un, go to work for the government. Here, they're assigned to cyber espionage units with shady names like Enemy Collapse Sabotage Bureau or the still more oblique Unit 180, whose mission is apparently conducting cyber operations to steal foreign money from outside North Korea. Defectors rarely try to leave the Hermit Kingdom because the regime would visit swift and brutal revenge on their family and friends. One brave whistleblower told The New Yorker that North Korea's elite hackers are rewarded for their efforts with cars or comfortable houses and a special place in the affections of the tyrannical Kim Jong-un. Every so often, like the Sony episode, these hackers' work makes global headlines. In 2017, the so-called WannaCry 2.0 hack disabled computer systems at Boeing, the German Federal Railway Network, and Britain's National Health Service. Mostly, however, North Korea is responsible for under-the-radar ransomware attacks, the kind smaller financial institutions have increasingly come to see as an unfortunate cost of doing business. These often come via malware attacks using the internationally trusted SWIFT banking system. SWIFT, aka the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications, makes fund requests look legitimate. For instance, on one February day in 2016, the US Federal Reserve was tricked into paying out $101 million in fraudulent SWIFT transactions, all instigated by North Korean scammers. Cryptocurrency exchanges are by no means immune. During one 2018 heist, an unnamed Hong Kong exchange had its clients' hot wallets ransacked to the tune of 10,800 Bitcoin. In 2018, that haul was worth $94 million. Today, it's more than $500 million. Can they be stopped? Much of the hacking, analysts agree, is carried out by North Korean coders situated outside of the country's borders. VPNs, of course, complicate this picture, but it is known that young Korean coders are encouraged to spend time abroad, at least elsewhere in Southeast Asia, learning firsthand how other countries' systems and fail-safes operate. Neighboring China and also Russia are broadly sympathetic to the pariah state, which shields its elites from from the most brutal sanctions. Tellingly, it appears no Chinese or Russian banks have yet been targeted by the regime. What do you think? Is society now locked in a bitter arms race between Western cybersecurity experts and weaponized North Korean nerds? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more reassuringly secure tech content.